Welcome to Two Lamps Last Hour News.
I'm Vernon.
I'm Cheryl.
If you're new here, welcome to the channel. And please hit the like button. It'll help get the news and the truth out there for people to hear it.
Today we're going to cover lawmakers shot, one husband and wife survived. They did catch the shooter. Flyers found in the vehicle. Now you know that could stir some things up. No King's Day protests still taking place. We've also included some videos that expose the Freemasons, Jesuits, and Illuminati's plans for World War I, II, and III, using religions and political parties to destroy the people. And we also have a couple of scriptures at the end, followed by the blowing of the shofar. A beautiful rainbow God gave us as a promise to never flood the earth again. A picture of that at the end.
And we know that since God said there would never be a flooded earth again, that he would do, any kind of climate control is nothing more than another dictator rule trying to control the people. So don't expect that either. There's no flood going to happen from any climate.
So let's get into it.
From ABC News World Headquarters in New York, this is World News Tonight.
Good evening. Thanks for joining us on this Saturday. I'm Wade Johnson. Several breaking stories as we come on tonight. The massive military parade in Washington, D.C., and protests across the country. But we begin tonight with the urgent manhunt in Minnesota happening right now. A suspect on the run after what authorities call a politically motivated assassination. Former Minnesota House Speaker Melissa Hortman and her husband Mark both gunned down early this morning inside their home in Brooklyn Park. Just a few miles away, State Senator John Hoffman and his wife Yvette were shot multiple times at their home, now recovering in a local hospital. This video showing their front door riddled with bullet holes. Hundreds of police and sheriff's deputies on the scene searching for clues and a possible motive. Investigators identifying the suspected gunman as 57-year-old Vance Luther Bolter. Several sources telling ABC News that the suspect had a list of possible targets, including Minnesota Governor Tim Walz. Several planned protests canceled today as thousands were told to shelter in place. ABC's Faith Abube leads us off from the scene in Minnesota.
Tonight, a manhunt in Minnesota for 57-year-old Vance Bolter, who authorities say assassinated a beloved Minnesota lawmaker and her husband and wounded another legislator and his spouse while posing as a police officer.
Do not approach him. You should consider him armed and dangerous.
Around 2 a.m., police in Champlain, northwest of Minneapolis, responding to reports of a shooting at the home of State Senator John Hoffman.
Black SUV had red and blue flashlights. Suspects posing as police officers shot two victims.
Officers finding Hoffman and his wife Yvette in their home wounded, rushing them to the hospital. Meanwhile, 8 miles away in Brooklyn Park, a fast-thinking sergeant deciding to proactively check on the home of former House Speaker Melissa Hortman.
When they arrived at Melissa's house, they noticed that there was a police vehicle in the driveway with the lights, emergency lights on, and what appeared to be a police officer at the door coming out of the house. When our officers confronted him, the individual immediately fired upon the officers, who exchanged gunfire, and the suspect retreated back into the home.
Inside, police finding the bodies of former House Speaker Melissa Hortman and her husband Mark. They say the suspect was dressed as a police officer, complete with a badge, vest, and taser, and a realistic-looking latex mask, fleeing on foot. Thousands told to shelter in place, officials warning residents their officers will only travel in pairs.
If there's only one officer outside the door, do not answer the door and call 911.
Authorities say they found a hit list inside the vehicle with names of dozens of Democratic Minnesota lawmakers, including Congresswoman Ilhan Omar and Senator Tina Smith. Sources tell ABC News that abortion providers were also on that list, and law enforcement is looking into whether the suspect may have been motivated by extreme views on abortion. Police say they also found these flyers in the vehicle for the No King's Day protest taking place today, organizers in Minnesota canceling them out of an abundance of caution.
This was an act of targeted political violence.
State Representative Melissa Hortman was a mother of two. News of her murder stunning lawmakers nationwide. Minnesota's Governor Tim Walz heartbroken.
Speaker Hortman was someone who served the people of Minnesota with grace, compassion, humor, and a sense of service. She was a formidable public servant, a fixture and a giant in Minnesota. She is irreplaceable, and we've been missed by so many. Minnesota's thoughts and prayers are with her family, her loved ones, her children, and her parents.
And with that shelter-in-place order just lifted, even though that suspect's still on the run at this hour as this urgent investigation continues here in Brooklyn Park, the FBI offering $50,000 for information leading to that suspect's arrest, releasing these images just from a few hours ago of that suspect wearing a cowboy hat. They say he is armed and dangerous, and do not approach him.
Major news on this Saturday night, massive crowds gathering from coast to coast for those so-called No King's Day protests, counter-programming to the military parade in Washington, D.C., marking the Army's 250th birthday. Protests planned in all 50 states and law enforcement on high alert. ABC's Matt Gutman is in Los Angeles tonight.
Tonight, thousands of protests taking place nationwide against the Trump administration's policies and perceived overreach and to counter-program the president's military parade in Washington. From Atlanta to New York and Durham, North Carolina. From Frisco, Texas, and Angola, Indiana in the center of the country to San Diego on the West Coast. Overall, more than 2,000 separate demonstrations of different sizes in all 50 states today, according to the organizers of the so-called No Kings protests, voicing opposition to Trump's agenda.
We're advocating for the rights of our immigrant families.
I'm a proud American that am not very happy with things that are going on in our country.
And today, the president seeming to blink on his immigration crackdown. Today, DHS officials confirming to ABC News, the president told ICE to pause most raids on farms, hotels, and restaurants. Protesters marching right up to the president's doorstep. Demonstrators today near Mar-a-Lago, at times standing face-to-face with a line of heavily armed officers. In Minnesota, many of the planned demonstrations were canceled due to that horrific shooting after authorities say they found flyers for the protests in a vehicle at the scene. And in Austin, the Texas state capital, evacuated after authorities there say they identified a credible threat towards state lawmakers planning to attend the protest. And here in Los Angeles, an estimated 20,000 gathering, and we were there as the throng arrived outside the federal building.
Many hundreds of people flocking right here to the federal building, guarding the lobby are active duty U.S. Marines, and you can hear the crowd chanting, "Shame on you."
Tensions in the city still high amid a week of immigration protests that have led to clashes between police and demonstrators.
And I have to bring up again, and we've mentioned him many times, Albert Pike, 33-degree Mason, the author of Morals and Dogma. But all in all, guess what? An admitted Luciferian, born 1809. In the late 1800s, he wrote a book called Morals and Dogma. In Morals and Dogma, in the late 1800s, he made a letter highlighting the Masonic agenda to usher in Lucifer as the true God of this world that the most people are in the earth who are worshiping secretly without knowing. Right? And it so happened he's a 33-degree Mason. And it so happened that when you look at the Secrets of the Times, and when you sum it up, Elder Shofar, with the what? With the Gnostic calendar, 2033 would be the consummation. Okay? That means if all things is still in line with the Enoch and Gnostic calendar, 2033 will be the end of the Masonic Luciferian timeline. Now, oh yeah, folks, we're going in right now. In the letter, it tells us what their plans would be. Right? Their plans would be, according to their 33-degree Mason, who so happened to have a statue around the corner from the White House and wasn't an elected official, mind you, but still honored as one. The First World War. This war to be battled out so as to enable the Illuminati to overthrow the powers of the Tsar in Russia and turn Russia into a strong fortress of atheistic communism. So this was before all of that. They said this was the plan for Russia. What have Russia become? The difference stirred up the agent tour of the Illuminati between German and British empires were to be used to foment this First World War. Then when the war has ended, communism was built up and used to destroy other governments and to weaken religions. See? Because what? The religions resist immorality. In order for them to bring forth Lucifer, they must do what? Destabilize the world by making what? Making people immoral to do away with the resistance, which is what? The laws of God and the fear of God. And if so, this happened. It was the World War I, right? Then check this out. The first war must be brought about in order to permit the Illuminati to overthrow the power of the Tsar. Check out the second one. The second war must be fomented by taking advantage of the differences between the fascists and the political Zionists. This war must be brought about so that Nazism, Germany, anyone, Hitler, anyone, it seems like they knew about this would happen before there was any such man born on the earth as Hitler. This war must be brought about so that Nazism is destroyed and the political Zionism be strong enough to institute sovereign state of Israel in Palestine. So in the late 1800s, they had a plan through the Second War to have a people go into Israel, into Palestine, to make what? A state of Israel out of their own people. See this? During the Second World War, international communism must become strong enough in order to balance Christendom, which would be then understated and held in check until the time when we would need it for the final social cataclysm. So they're going to use Christianity at the end, right? Third World War. The Third War must be fomented by taking advantage of the differences caused by the agent of the Illuminati between the political Zionists and the leaders of the Islamic world. War on terror, anyone? The war must be conducted in such a way that Islam and political Zionism mutually destroy each other. Meanwhile, the other nations, once more divided of these issues, will be constrained to fight the point of complete physical, moral, spiritual, and economical exhaustion. And that's where we're at. The citizens of the world, the people of the world, children of God, we're exhausted at this point. One thing after the next, politically, we have to deal with. And it seems like it's planned. There's no rest. It's one thing after the other, right? We go from a disease to something else, and then a fire, and then rain, then whatever, earthquake, right? We shall unleash. Now this is them saying it themselves, Shofar. We shall unleash the nihilists and the atheists. We shall unleash the nihilists and the atheists, and we shall provoke a formidable social cataclysm, which in all its horror will show clearly to the nations the effect of absolute atheism. A world who believed nothing at all was their plan. It took time, they're patient, but they've accomplished it. It says, of absolute atheism, origin of savagery, and of the most bloody turmoil. Then everywhere, listen and listen good, the citizens obliged to defend themselves against the world minority of revolutionaries will exterminate those destroyers of civilization. And the multitude disillusion Christianity, because people are going to claim Christians are in different turmoil. Then everywhere, listen and listen good, the citizens obliged to defend themselves against the world minority of revolutionaries will exterminate those destroyers of civilization. And the multitude disillusion Christianity, because people are going to claim Christians are any different than anyone else. So they're going to do away with any strength Christianity had to oppose Satan and miseducated against the moral values that was established under Christianity. whose destined spirits will from that moment be without compass or direction. People are not going to know up from down, left from right, male from female. Anxious for an ideal, but without knowing where to render adoration, will receive the true light through the universal manifestation of the pure doctrine of Lucifer. Brought finally out in the public view. There you go. 33 degree Mason, Satanist. And hey, they try to claim that it was a forgery. They don't know who really wrote the letter. Well, whoever wrote the letter, I'll tell you, they had some serious insight. At the end of the day, folks, we're living what they said would happen. Okay? We're living it. So when you see those temples, those lodges all over the place, that's connected to the political structure, understand that they're pushing, slowly but surely, progressively, these secret agendas into full sight without resistance. They're operating in the cities politically to move these agendas. You don't know whether or not they're moving these agendas until you understand their plan. Now, does it make sense? Exactly. Now you see that the Bible is real. It prophesied changing of kinds. Because if you have changing of kinds, you have people who are immoral and believe not in God. Now, suppose you put these people in all high positions to run the world and to move the world politically with no fear of God. You get the hell we're living under today. The Bible. Is it hard to understand?
When it comes to reading the Bible, the first thing that comes to mind is the fact that this is the Word of God.
Of accents, have you guys heard of this man that goes by the name of Albert Pike? Albert Pike? No. Did you know this man, Albert Pike, in the 1800s predicted every world war?
Oh boy.
And has predicted also the Third World War to the utmost accuracy?
What are you talking about? I'm already nervous.
Albert Pike was born in 1809 and died in 1891. He was a 33-degree Freemason. And I was...
That's the highest, right?
Yeah. I said when we were talking about the Illuminati, I think I said like the 32nd was the highest, but it's the 33rd. And that's like, yeah, like you're like a Freemason. One could say 33 degree is possibly where the Illuminati is ranked.
I signed up, so we're going to see. We'll find out.
See how quickly Indy rises up.
He was appointed by this guy. His name was Mazzini, and he was the leader of the Italian National Revolutionary Movement. So, like, Italy, like, taking over or revolting against the monarchy and stuff. But supposedly he was in the Illuminati and appointed Albert Pike as the leader of the Illuminati.
Okay.
In America.
Mm-hmm.
And so Albert Pike moved to America in 1852, and it said he was made a general and was placed in charge of raising an Indian army during the time of war, which I didn't look too much into that, but
what goes into creating an Indian army?
I don't know. Morals and Dogma. I don't know if you've ever heard of that.
No.
I don't know anything about it, but I've heard that title before.
I have too.
But there was a letter that was found that was supposedly written by him August 15th, 1871. So this was 20 years before he died. And it was a letter to Mazzini, the Italian leader or whatever.
Mazzini.
And this letter, he wrote down basically the game plan of what the Illuminati was going to do for the 3 world wars. Okay.
So tell me the prediction. This is 1850.
Yes, this was 1871 when this is written.
So he never saw World War.
He never saw any of the world wars. But listen, and it's hard to like figure out if this is real or a hoax.
Yeah.
But it's been in a British Museum library or something like that. But it's just creepy because it's dated 1871.
Yeah, it's fact checked by their government.
Okay, so the First World War. This is what he said. The First World War must be brought about in order to permit the Illuminati to overthrow the power of the Tsars of Russia in making that country a fortress of atheistic communism. The divergences caused by the agents of the Illuminati between the British and Germanic empires will be used to foment this war. At the end of the war, communism will be built and used to destroy the other governments in an order to weaken religions.
Oh my gosh.
So that's literally what happened.
Yeah.
Okay.
With Russia,
So,
like Stalin,
yeah.
and then
Wiping out
Germany.
the Tsars. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think World War I is the one I know the least about.
Yeah, it's not.
Yeah.
It gets kind of confusing because like Germany and the U.S. and England, like they're involved in both, you know. So it's like.
Yeah.
But the Second World War. This is what he wrote about the Second World War.
Okay.
The Second World War must be fomented. Fomented, is that the word?
Fermented.
The Second World War must be fomented by taking advantage of the differences between the fascists and the political Zionists. This war must be brought about so that Nazism is destroyed and that the political Zionism be strong enough to institute a sovereign state of Israel and Palestine. During the Second World War, international communism must become strong enough in order to balance the Christendom, which would be then restrained and held in check until the time when we would need it for final social cataclysm. Morals and Dogma. I don't know if you've ever heard of that.
No.
I don't know anything about it, but I've heard that title before.
I had to.
But there was a letter that was found that was supposedly written by him August 15th, 1871. So this was 20 years before he died. And it was a letter to Mazzini, the Italian leader or whatever.
Mazzini.
And this letter, he wrote down basically the game plan of what the Illuminati was going to do for the 3 world wars.
Okay. So tell me the predict. This is 1850.
Yes, this was 1871 when this is written.
So he never saw a world war.
He never saw any of the world wars. But listen, and it's hard to like figure out if this is real or a hoax.
Yeah.
But it's been in a British Museum library or something like that. But it's just creepy because it's dated 1871.
Yeah, it's fact checked by their government.
Okay, so the First World War. This is what he said. Okay. The First World War must be brought about in order to permit the Illuminati to overthrow the power of the Tsars of Russia in making that country a fortress of atheistic communism. The divergences caused by the agents of the Illuminati between the British and Germanic empires will be used to foment this war. At the end of the war, communism will be built and used to destroy the other governments in an order to weaken religions.
Oh my gosh.
So that's literally what happened.
Yeah.
Okay.
With Russia,
So,
like Stalin,
yeah.
and then
Wiping out
Germany.
the Tsars. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think World War I is the one I know the least about.
Yeah, it's not.
Yeah.
It gets kind of confusing because like Germany and the U.S. and England, like they're involved in both, you know. So it's like.
Yeah.
But the Second World War. This is what he wrote about the Second World War.
Okay.
The Second World War must be fomented. Fomented, is that the word?
Fermented.
The Second World War must be fomented by taking advantage of the differences between the fascists and the political Zionists. This war must be brought about so that Nazism is destroyed and that the political Zionism be strong enough to institute a sovereign state of Israel and Palestine. During the Second World War, international communism must become strong enough in order to balance the Christendom, which would be then restrained and held in check until the time when we would need it for final social cataclysm. Social cataclysm. It's a little confusing at the end.
Uh-oh.
But basically, he mentioned Nazism before the Nazi Party was even.
Yeah, how does that work?
Okay, when did Germany become Germany?
I mean,
like unified.
What do you mean? Like not a monarchy?
Yeah, like there was like different areas that like did they all come together as one thing, like from different regions and like
the Prussian.
Yeah.
When was the Prussian? That was like way before. That was before the 1800s, I believe.
I don't know.
Prussia.
Yeah, that was when Mr. Germany invented the place, right?
Yeah.
That's when Mr. Germany met Mrs. Germany.
Robert Germany and Sherry Germany.
1866
is when Germany became Germany.
The North German Confederation Treaty establishing the North German Confederation under the unification of Germany.
Mm. And so a monarch was put in place at that time?
No, I think the opposite. This is me reading Wikipedia on the spot, trying to...
Well, there was a monarch during World War I, right?
I forget.
Tough to be named a country with germ being part of the first one, you know?
But the Third World War is the scariest, in my opinion.
But he never
Which
gave
we're on
dates.
the brink of, right?
No, he never gave dates. He just said these are how it's going to be.
This is what's going to happen, yeah.
Yeah, tell me about World War III.
Yes.
What did he predict?
Uh-oh.
Basically, this would be the last World War.
Cool. Oh, because there's like a bunch of peace at the end. Because we all live in harmony afterwards.
Let me just read what he said.
Okay, cool.
So if we're going to take into account that this letter was discovered a long time ago, and the hoax could be that he lived through the first two World Wars, right? But that's hard to justify.
And when was it discovered?
I don't know when it was discovered. I think it was sometime in the 1900s.
It gave his death dates and the date that the letter was written.
Yeah,
was
1870
prior
and then
to,
died in
1871.
And he died in 91.
to all of the world wars.
Weird.
So unless you're saying he faked it?
Or someone else faked it
Yeah.
and said that he wrote it.
I see.
But the Third World War, again, this was discovered a long time ago, and it's added up
Yeah, good.
quite a bit.
boy.
Okay. So he said, the Third World War must be fomented by taking advantage of the differences caused by the agents of the Illuminati between the political Zionists and the leaders of the Islamic world.
Mm-mm.
The war must be conducted in such a way that Islam, the Muslim Arabic world, and the political Zionism, the state of Israel, mutually destroy each other.
Oh boy.
Yeah, here we go. It's getting...
We're racked up to 2.
Meanwhile, the other nations, once more divided on the issue, will be constrained to fight to the point of complete physical, moral, spiritual, and economic exhaustion. We shall unleash the nihilists and the atheists, and we shall provoke a formidable social cataclysm, which in all its horror will show clearly to the nations the effect of absolute atheism, origin of savagery, and the most bloody turmoil. Cool. It gets better.
The most bloody turmoil.
Then everywhere the citizens obliged to defend themselves against the world minority of revolutionaries will exterminate those destroyers of civilization, and the multitude delusioned with Christianity, whose deistic spirits will form. Oh, sorry, I'm losing it.
You're good.
It's like reading in front of a class.
What percentage you got right now?
I'm going back down to 42.
Oh no! Oh no!
Hold on, let me start that part over. Disillusioned with Christianity, whose deistic spirits will from that moment be without compass or direction, anxious for an ideal, but without knowing where to render adoration, will receive the true light through the universal manifestation of the pure doctrine of Lucifer, brought finally out in public view.
She's a Pete.
This manifestation will result from the general reactionary movement which will follow the destruction of Christianity and atheism, both conquered and exterminated at the same time.
That is a lot. Hey, that's a lot to look
way
forward
more
to, right?
detailed than the first two.
100%. And that's what makes it so weird. By the time we figure out whether he was telling the truth or not, it's going to be too late for us.
Yeah.
Like, oh, no, he was right. It's an atom bomb.
And in the days of your gladness, and in your appointed times, and at the beginning of your months, you shall blow the trumpets over your burnt offerings, and over your peace offerings, and they shall be a remembrance for you before your Elohim. I am Yahweh, your Elohim.
Hallelujah!